Hot coffee exploded across her blazer, dripping down her neck like fire. Gasps rippled through first class as the white flight attendant stood over her, lips curling into a fake smile. "Oops. Guess you should watch where you stand," passengers whispered, some lifting their phones to record, while the black woman clenched her fists, her perfect suit ruined before the most important meeting of her life. She had been humiliated, dismissed, and now scalded, all because they thought she didn't belong here. But before this flight touched the ground, they'd learn exactly who she was and who really held the power. Her name was Danielle Monroe, and she had boarded Atlantic Skies Flight 4716 with a first-class ticket in Seat 2A. The ticket wasn't a gift, a mistake, or an upgrade. She'd paid for it outright. She had a non-stop flight to London for a meeting that could shift billions in corporate assets. From the moment she stepped onto the jet bridge, the stares began. Flight attendant Kendra Blake greeted the man ahead of her warmly, offering champagne. But when Danielle presented her boarding pass, Kendra's expression stiffened. "Ma'am, this section is for first-class passengers only." Danielle kept her voice level. "I am a first-class passenger." She held out the ticket again. Kendra scanned it, forced a thin smile, and waved her through. But Danielle felt the air shift, the same chill she'd felt in boardrooms where her skin color spoke louder than her resume. In the cabin, she settled into her seat across the aisle. A white couple was greeted with bubbly glasses and easy laughter. Kendra returned with a tray for Danielle, but instead of champagne, she set down water without asking. "We'll begin service after takeoff," she said curtly, then moved on. Danielle thought about letting it go. She had work to review, contracts to finalize, but midway through the climb, Kendra reappeared, a steaming mug in hand. "Excuse me," Danielle began. "I believe there's been a mistake." The mug tipped. Coffee splashed over her shoulder, staining her ivory blazer. Heat stung her skin. The smell of burnt roast filled the air. Danielle shot to her feet, the aisle around her silent except for the hiss of the engines. "Oh my God!" A woman in row 3 gasped. Kendra didn't flinch. "I said, watch where you stand. Accidents happen." "Accidents don't smirk," Danielle said coldly. Blotting at her suit, a man from business class leaned forward. "I saw what you did," he said to Kendra. "That wasn't an accident?" Murmurs spread. Phones tilted upward, red recording lights blinking. But Kendra was unmoved. "If you have an issue, ma'am, I can arrange for you to be moved to economy. It might be more comfortable there." It was the slap Danielle didn't see coming, the unspoken, "You don't belong." She felt every eye on her, not in solidarity but in voyeurism. She gathered her laptop bag and stepped into the aisle. "Fine," she said. "Let's see where this goes." They moved her to a middle seat in row 17. The man beside her, a middle-aged journalist named Calvin Price, had witnessed the entire scene. "You're just gonna take that?" he whispered. Danielle's lips curved in a faint smile. For now, the rest of the flight was a haze of low whispers and sidelong glances. Kendra walked the aisle like a queen in her court, stopping to refill champagne flutes in first class. She never looked back toward row 17 when the plane touched down in London. Danielle let the rush of passengers move ahead. Calvin followed her to the terminal. "You should go public," he said. "I've seen discrimination. But this—" Danielle shook her head. "Not yet, I have a meeting." An hour later, Kendra stood in the lobby of Atlantic Skies London headquarters. She had been called upstairs, something about a mandatory debrief. Still in her pressed uniform, she stepped into the executive boardroom and froze. At the head of the table sat Danielle Monroe, no blazer now, just the sharp lines of a black silk blouse and an expression carved in stone. Beside her were 2 corporate directors and the CEO. "Ms. Monroe," the CEO began, "thank you for leading negotiations on this merger. As lead counsel for the shareholder group, your recommendations will be decisive." Kendra's skin drained of color. Danielle regarded her calmly, then glanced at a folder in front of her. "Before we proceed," she said, "there's a personnel matter I'd like to address." The room went quiet. Danielle's eyes locked on Kendra's, earlier today on Flight 4716. "This employee humiliated and physically assaulted me. She attempted to downgrade my ticket without cause and openly treated white passengers with more respect than black passengers. I have video evidence and witnesses." Gasps rippled through the room. Calvin stepped forward from the side wall. He'd been invited to, holding up his phone. "I recorded everything." Within minutes, Kendra was escorted out. Danielle didn't raise her voice, didn't gloat. She simply turned back to the table. "Now, let's talk about reform in hiring, training, and disciplinary policy. This company's image is about to change." The merger went through 2 weeks later, with Danielle ensuring clauses for anti-discrimination enforcement. Calvin's footage went viral, sparking national outrage. When Danielle boarded her next flight, the captain himself stepped out to greet her. "Welcome aboard, Miss Monroe," he said warmly, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to sit back, close her eyes, and fly in peace. If this story made your blood boil, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments so we can see just how far the fight against prejudice travels. And if you believe respect should be boarding pass #1 on every flight, hit like and share this video. Let's make sure this story reaches every corner of the globe.